mean, it's super exciting just to see all the work that he's put in, and that all the work that we've collectively put in together, and just to see it all come to fruition. It's a really cool experience.
You think back to, when he decides to come back, and then just the spring and the summer and all the goals and stuff. This is the dream, but it never often plays out like the dream was. Just to see it kind of work out the way it has. How do you just kind of think about the last 10, 11 months?
Man, it's been crazy just to, because you always have those aspirations, those goals, and those dreams. And then when the Heisman campaign came out, and for just to see all the work that he put in to get to that moment was just the crazy part about it. And just to how he fought through adversity each and every week with ankle sprains, elbow sprains, different things every week, and he came out and he brought it every single Saturday, and he never wavered. And so it was just really cool to see. And obviously got a little help from the man upstairs, and so that always helps out. So,
with the campaign and all that, I don't know if you were part of that or you found out they were doing it or what, but I remember the UCLA game, the T-shirts come out, and that was kind of the start of it, right then. That's pretty gutsy to do that as a group of 5 running back, to come out and do all that and make this, and then to have it work out the way it has. Like I said, it's pretty rare somebody can live up to the hype, so to speak. How do you just kind of look at that angle of it, and just the fact that the school kind of went all in, he went all in, the first game of the season doing the Heisman pose, and then now here he is in New York.
Without a doubt. I get to see all the behind the scenes work, and from last January, working through spring ball, working through summer workouts, working through fall camp, he was one speed, and you'll hear him talk about it. He was literally dark mode. He didn't do anything. All he did was make sure he was eating right, make sure he was working out, make sure that every part of his game he wanted to grow it. And so halfway through the spring, he wanted to learn line calls, and then we dug into protection more, and then we dug into each and every run scheme and saw, if he didn't know a piece about it, he wanted to know exactly what it was. And so we dug into all aspects of his game. We talked about where we could work on this, where his footwork, or how we could press things differently, how odd front, versus the even front is going to change your angles of your zone schemes, and how gap schemes are, they're always going to hit a little bit faster. And then, we basically dug into his whole game, and he wanted to just keep learning and growing, and that's what you want to see as a coach. And so we went from 201 to 301 to football 501, and then just to see him go out there and apply it, that's the natural beauty of it, because a lot of times he'd be out there and it would just be like poetry in motion, mixed with his skill set, mixed with his mindset. And as a coach, you can't ask for anything more.
There's so many different aspects to it. We've heard so much about the leadership, and I heard Spencer telling a story about fall camp or spring, or one when it's not that serious, but one they call a players only meeting because they weren't kind of doing it the right way, and did a walkthrough. Just that's pretty rare, I think, from that side of it too, the off the field part, the team leader, and you haven't heard a bad player say a bad thing about him as a teammate. Just how the fact that everybody loves him, and he's doing everything right behind the scenes too, and in the locker room. How do you explain that?
Well, we going into this season, we knew he was going to be the guy, and so he was the guy last season, but we challenged him on the leadership part, because he was a sophomore, going into his junior year, and we said, hey bro, this is your team, and you make this go however you want it to go. And we're in fall camp. We had a couple, lower days of practice. We're in the dog days, and he said, hey, I'm going to take this thing over, and I'm going to bring everybody in, and no coaches have to be in here. And from that point on, there was no calling it. He's the leader of this team. He's the leader of this program. And after they came out of that meeting, I don't think we had another bad practice in fall camp. They were just driven, and he showed them his drive, and he put that into everybody else on this team, and he's special, man.
I know you weren't part of his recruitment, so to speak, but what do you remember of your early impressions of your first couple times seeing his tape, talking to him, just getting to know him a little bit?
I can give you my first impression. So I was here for his first 100-yard game, and so except I was on the other sideline, and so once I saw how they beat us. I think they beat us 40-20 when I was at Fresno in the first game, and I think he had 20 carries for 109, probably 2 touchdowns, but he iced us in the 4-minute drill as well. He closed the game out. And so I went back and I'm looking and I'm like, this kid can't be a true freshman. So I was just going through his path and seeing if he redshirted. And then when I saw he was a true freshman that came in January, made that type of leap. And then you fast forward a couple months, I got the opportunity to come coach him. I knew, you know, if I could get his skill set and, you know, my teaching abilities with that, we could do something special. And we started doing that last year because, I mean, he didn't have a slouch season as a sophomore. And then for us, that's always my goal, is to make sure how can I get you better. And for him to go from what he had last year and double that up, it's phenomenal, and that's where you really want to see is that growth as a coach.
I know people joke about it, but with the NIL game and all this stuff, like, oh, the players are making more than their position coaches, or all this kind of stuff, and
he deserves it.
but some guys can't, you know, don't know how to handle that, and they go off in different directions. And we hear about him buying meals for his old linemen and giving the gift cards from the sandwich shop back to the other players, and just that kind of. How has he seemingly been the same person this last year, even though I think a lot of things have changed for him?
Well, we're not gonna. I mean, we, especially in the RB room, we do a good job of keeping him down to earth. But his family does a heck of a job with him, and they're such down to earth people, hardworking, just super solid people, and they weren't gonna let any of the success go to his head because he's only got more coming. And we talk about that all the time, you know. Like, it's cool, you know, he's the mayor of Boise right now, but you know, we're gearing him up to be, you know, a first-round draft pick, and so him getting this taste of it now when only more is coming, and so he's going to know how to handle it. He handles it well right now, and moving forward in the future, he's going to know how to handle it. But he just stays consistent. He's a solid person, and he stays the same no matter what the situation is.
On the field, what's been the most impressive thing that he's done?
It's just when you see the drill to the skill, man. Just the stuff he does in practice. I mean, you're around practice quite a bit, BJ, so you can tell, you know, the drills that I work, and he applies it directly. I can work a jump cut drill, I can work, you know, an inside zone drill, I can work some type of footwork drill, pass protection, and when he gets put in that situation again, he applies it directly. And that's what you love to see as a coach, just the drill to the skill. But he just does it at a very elite level, and he's not a very high rep guy. He can recall things that we've done weeks before, and then you can just boom, hey, Ash, it's like this, and he's rolling. And so that's what makes him so special, is whatever you tell him, whatever you teach him, he's going to apply it directly.
As the season went on, and early on, the team started, you know, there was that 3 or 4 or 5 game stretch where they literally just did nothing but try to stop him. Yeah. What was just seeing how defenses were trying to stop him, and just what, as the season went on, how he continued to put up the numbers and do what he did. How do you just kind of look at his season overall?
I mean, it was amazing. The consistency. I mean, his focus that he brought every week, and we, as more and more bodies got to the box, you know, we just talked about being more precise and more efficient with what we can do, because we can't control what the defense does, and so, you know, we can't get frustrated. And so a lot of it was just like, hey, there's going to be some bodies in there. Trust the O-line. Just keep running your tracks, and it's going to pop. And so it was just really stay consistent. And we have a really good relationship, and so we have that trust. And so when I tell him stuff, I could tell he'd be getting frustrated in games. I just smile at him like, hey, bro, like, there's nothing you can do about it. But it opened up a lot of things for other pieces in our offense, and that's always awesome.
Have you ever seen in your years of coaching, like, so much scheme, like defense, whatever, to try to stop one guy like that?
Nah, I haven't. And that's the beauty of having the tablet on the sideline. Sometimes we'd be out there and I'd see certain things starting to happen, and, you know, I'd be like, hey, if you see this look again right here, do this. And we get it done a couple times, and especially in the Wazoo game, they had a lot of bodies up there, and, you know, he got a chance to showcase some of the things we talked about on the sideline, and he did it, you know, very, very seamlessly.
Maybe that's the answer to my next question, because you had a couple big ones in that game. But do you have a favorite Ashton Jeanty run from this year?
Yeah, I do. It was probably the first one versus Wazoo, where he broke like 6 tackles through the middle, and then he came running up the sideline right there. That one, both Wazoo game. The one, well, he had 3. That one that I really love. So I love this first one. I love the counter that he bounced, and then he does a little skip step, and then he dunks the ball into the end zone. And then the one in the red zone where he broke like 8 tackles on a outside zone play, he gets vertical. His footwork is impeccable, and then just the contact balance and the mentality to just not be denied. And so I could just feel it that whole week going into that game. He was going to be a different person, and you don't want to see Ash on fire. Like,
I know people talk about the strength and the toughness and how much he can bench and squat and all that stuff, but and then people will see the videos go viral without his shirt on, you know, when it's 20 degrees outside. But just to, I mean, to talk about taking 30 carries a game is one thing. To take 30 plus carries, 7 out of 8 games or whatever it's been here, and the beating, and we saw the elbow injury and stuff. I mean, just what can you put into context? Maybe this is even a better question for after the season's over, but just what he's dealt with physically this year, and how, when you factor in what he's doing with where he's at physically, just how impressive that part is.
Well, when you think about it, he's a throwback, man. You haven't seen this type of production in a long while. I mean, you think about the Barry Sanders, the Emmitt Smiths, the LaDainian Tomlinsons, and in that realm right there. But what he did this year, other than last year, is he took such good care of his body. And so he was proactive when he wasn't hurt, and then he was still, when he had to go in there, he already had his routine. And so when he had to go get his treatment, when he did have his little nicks, he already had the process that he was going through each and every week. And so he'd do his soft tissue work, make sure his ankles were getting his mobility, making sure his hammies were getting rolled out, making sure he was getting in the hot, cold tub. And so that was the main thing. He was just a pro with his body. And so when the stress on his body did start to take a toll, he was ready for it.
Why should Ashton Jeanty win the Heisman Trophy?
I mean, for what he's done for this team, I mean, to thrust us into the playoffs, his production, his consistency, and then just the person he is. He's a model for the for the Heisman. And I'm not taking anything away from from anybody else. There's some really good competition in the Heisman, and so I just for me, I do have a little bit of bias there. I get to work with him every day, but I totally think he deserves it.
And what's this going to mean for you as his position coach to be able to be there in New York for this moment?
I mean, you might hear me on the TV if he wins it. I might yell, but but nah, just super proud of him, man. Just to be a part of this journey with him, and to see him growing to develop into the young man he is. He just turned 21 a week ago, and to see he's accomplishing all his goals and aspirations. That's all you could ask for as a coach.
And I guess final thing, how scary is 23 days of rest for Ashton Jeanty?
I think we all need it. You can hear it in my voice right now, but we're all a little bit sick from this last little 6 weeks run we had. But it's going to be awesome for him. Get a little rest and recovery for him. Get a chance to see who we're going to play, and then get ready and get it dialed in. He'll be ready to go.
Thanks.
No problem.